Hi, let's talk about setting expectations for review. One of the things we want to be sure of is that the writers and the reviewers have the same expectations. So we've talked about creating that milestone, creating that checklist. When are things going to be due? When are first drafts going to be? Are we incorporating brainstorming and are we incorporating workshop and all of those things into our review process? Whether you do or whether you don't, I highly suggest you do, because as we know, reviewing can take a long time and waste lots of money and resources, as we've established. So the better you can outline that process, the more effective the process is going to be, and the more likely it is that documents are going to get reviewed in time and get out the door faster. So again, with expectations, writers need to know what you are reviewing for. So we've talked about the concepts. What are the concepts that you feel like are the best for your organization to review for? Is it logic? Is it concision? Is it whatever it is? Is it writing for skimmers? Those are the things that we are going to put into our checklist. And the checklist, of course, is these are the things we're going to review for. Along with that checklist, the opportunity is there for comments and things like that. So you need to establish that, but you also need to let the writers know exactly what we're going to be reviewing for and what that looks like. And what I mean by that is, if you can, for instance, say, okay, well, here's an example. We're going to be reviewing for concision, right? Being concise. Okay, here's an example of a sentence that isn't concise, and here's the rewrite and what makes the difference and that kind of thing. Because one of the things we want to make sure that we do is that it's not some arbitrary kind of, well, I think this is concise, but person A doesn't, or whatever the case may be. So your checklist needs to be as specific. And if you can include examples in the checklist, then you should do that. And the same is true, by the way, for your templates. If you're using templates, your templates should have examples in them so that people know exactly what you're talking about. And this is a tangent, but I can't believe the number of templates I've seen over the years, and it will say something like, here's the introduction. It should be concise and precise. What does that even mean? Or it should flow. What does that even mean? Right? So unless you are specific enough for people to be able to execute, then those kinds of instructions or directions really don't even matter. So make sure that when you create your checklist, that everybody gets a copy of it. I would even suggest that when you create it and you do the process with the milestones and all of that, that everybody is involved in looking at that, right? Does it work? Do you think it will work? What about it doesn't work? And then the other thing you need to think about doing is assessing it after 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case may be. Are people adhering to it? If they're not, why not? Are there problems with it? Are there gaps? Are there things that we should be doing differently? So, when we think about about a process of any kind, really, you have to be able to troubleshoot it. And troubleshooting it is assessing it to understand if it's working, if it's not working, and why isn't it working. But the more you can set expectations and everybody's aligned and everybody's on the same page, the smoother it's going to be. And I'm not going to kid you and tell you that, well, once you do all this, everything's going to be smooth as butter. That is not the case. And that would be disingenuous of me to say that. But if you stick with it and you constantly assess, it will get better. And soon you'll be in a situation where your review process, is just error-free and just seamless. So thanks for listening. Let me know if you have questions, Pam@hurleywright.com. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.